I can hear you.
Great. Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty for a minute. I'm getting a newsletter ready for tomorrow, so I'm multitasking. But I just wanted to thank everybody for being on the call. I think it's a great show of the community to have racers new and old and new and returning uh, on this meeting. John has worked really hard to get this presentation down to 1 hour, so big round of applause to him. And I just want to give a couple of announcements. One is that we are in our last few days of our Keep Our Ship on Course fund drive. I don't want to hammer people too hard on the fundraising effort because I know that times are very tough for many people right now. And while sailing is not food on the table or shelter overhead, it is the manna that keeps us going for many of us, and it is our emotional home. So for those who have already given to the Keep Our Ship on Course fund drive, I just want to thank you. And for those who are not able to, that's no problem. We love you anyways, and you have a home with us. And for those who might be getting paid tomorrow, if you want to donate, please feel free to do so. So I just wanted to plug that. And then I also just want to do a quick just commendation of the staff. John, Rena, and Graham have been working around the clock to get the season going. And while a lot of other sailing centers and small nonprofits are really shutting down or kind of in limbo, this team has just been working creatively, coming up with creative solutions. When we are able to reopen, I can guarantee that there will not be a better small nonprofit nor large nonprofit that will be delivering what our sailors need in terms of just a fun, safe, relaxation, environment. So I just want to just really commend John, Rena, and Graham. They've been working around the clock. And then also commend the board. We have a few new board members, and those who have remained on the board, they've really just been busting their tails to keep our ship on course, both financially, but as well as governance. So I'm just really thankful for all that the board is doing. And actually, Chris Rossi just popped on. So there's a bunch of board members that are on the call tonight. They race, they cruise, they do it all. But the DSC has really been rocking, and a lot of that is due to the excellent board support. So I want to thank the board. So I think without further ado, I just want to let people know that we are going to reopen as we are able to, and more information will be forthcoming on that. I don't want to distract from the race committee training, so I think without further ado, I'm going to let John and Hannah take it away. Thanks, John.
All right, thank you, Stu. All right, well, welcome everybody. Thanks again to everyone for coming and signing on. Go ahead and get rolling here. So as Stu mentioned, Hannah's going to be helping me kind of co-host here. We are recording this meeting, so hopefully we'll be able to use it in the future. So please make sure your microphone and your camera are off. Then can you guys, hopefully you guys can see my screen here. So as we go through the presentation, we'll kind of pause at each slide to give you guys a chance to ask questions. Any questions, comments you have, please post them in the chat window on the Google app here. Hannah will be monitoring the chat. She'll be helping to feed me some questions. So again, we'll give time at end of each slide, so you can type in your questions. And then at the end of each section, we'll have a brief kind of comprehension check. So that'll be another chance to get feedback from you guys as we go along. All right, so I know some of you have run race committee before. Some of you probably haven't. Maybe might even be brand new to racing. Just want to be clear, this isn't necessarily supposed to be a comprehensive guide for everything you need to know about race committee. There's a lot of great resources out there already, including a presentation that Stuart and the Race Council put together last year. as well as resources from U.S. Sailing and from other sources. You can even take day-long, week-long courses on running race committee. Not that I would necessarily recommend that, especially if you're just getting started. So we're just kind of going over some pointers on how to run an effective race committee here at the DSC. A few kind of specific things for our Thursday night racing program, that's TNR, as well as just some general advice that hopefully you can take and use in the wider racing world. So the key concepts we're going to go over here, we're going to talk about kind of preparation, getting started. We'll talk about kind of getting the course set up, a few little tips and tidbits there. We'll do a quick talk about the starting process, kind of what to do during the race, what to do at the finish, and then we'll go over the housekeeping at the end of the night. So if you're prepping for a day of Thursday night race committee, first thing you want to do is start checking the weather, even the day before the event. When you pull out your smartphone, if you just look at the little weather app and it's a sunshiny thing, that might not necessarily give you the whole picture. It's best to be able to find a good, reliable hourly forecast. For instance, if it's going to be raining earlier on and then sunny later, or vice versa, that can help you plan for the night. I personally like the National Weather Service, the NOAA stuff. They've got an hourly forecast, marine forecast that's especially useful. Other people like to use Weather Underground, Wonderground, and Sailflow. Great resources as well. Like I said, the main thing is just make sure you're looking at a marine forecast as well as checking that hourly forecast throughout the day. Starting in the afternoon, you want to start keeping an eye on the radar as well. Especially in the late summer, we can have some kind of storm systems start popping up in the area. So if you're looking at the radar ahead of time, then you'll have a good idea of what kind of systems may or may not be moving through. Here's a quick snapshot of like the National Weather Service weather tools. On the left of the screen here, we have the hourly breakdown, and on the right, we have the marine kind of the marine forecasts. These are the weather forecasts from today. As you can see, raining all day, decreasing wind throughout the day, gale warning in effect. As we all know, there's no sailing at the DSC in gale warning. Of course, they're lifted at 6. So if you're talking to your fellow race committee team, maybe you can be thinking, oh, gale warning is going to be lifted at 6. If that holds and the wind dies down, maybe we can go for a delayed start, something like that. I apologize. I just went through a couple slides here and realized I haven't stopped for any questions. So give you guys a chance if anyone has any questions here real quick. How are we looking, Hannah? All clear?
So far, no questions.
All right. Moving right along. So if we see on the screen here, this is the kind of top-down view taken from the NOAA chart of our sailing area. These are the main course areas we have for Thursday night racing. Course A, obviously just off the docks, DSC being the little docks here. Course B kind of being the length of the main channel. Course C being out here in the turning basin. Then course D, which we'll use on rare occasions, maybe the longest night of the year, kind of going out past the fort. Most conditions here at the DSC, we like to race out in course C. This kind of gives us the most water where we're not in the channel or going to be interfered by any commercial traffic. Especially for those summer sea breeze days, the wind tends to funnel kind of up here out of the south, gives us a nice long race course. Regardless of the course, of course, you want to make sure that it works for the wind direction. If the wind's coming straight out of the east, course C might not necessarily be the best. If it looks like there might be some storms in the area, then we might have to pull the plug really quickly. Course A might be good just to keep people close into shore. But for most courses, we do like to use course C. How are we doing? Any questions so far?
I have 2 questions. The first one, Chris Rossi asks, under what sort of scenarios would course D be an appropriate choice?
So course D would be great for kind of in like late June into early July, the absolute longest days of the year. When we have, really for bluebird conditions, if it's clear clear skies, ripping sea breeze, and we know we're kind of time to sail out, run a few races, and sail back in. I don't believe we used that course last year, but I think we used it once or twice the year before. Just gives people an opportunity to kind of sail in some more open water where we're not all constrained by obstructions and wind shadows and stuff like that.
Okay, and Jordan Stock asks if you're on race committee, if we're on race committee, and we think the weather is going to be not great for sailing, what steps should we take?
That's a great question. So you want to start to be in contact with the office. Usually I'll be the point of contact there. And we'll kind of monitor throughout the day. If we're keeping an eye on the weather, we know there's just like massive storm systems and there's no way we're going to be able to run races. That's something that you can communicate to me. And if that's the right call, I'll go ahead and email people, stay home, racing canceled tonight. If it looks like we might have weather earlier on, that's another instance where you can contact the office. We'll help get the word out to racers that it might be a delayed start, stuff like that.
Okay, one more question. How does current affect the sailing areas and courses?
Another good question. That was current, you said?
Yes.
Okay, so to be honest, especially in like the A and B areas, we don't necessarily see a ton of current in the harbor. Once we get out into sea, sometimes you do see a little bit of current, but it's usually going to be pretty negligible inside of the harbor. So it's not necessarily going to be a concern for setting up the races as much. Generally, you can disregard current and set the course square for the wind, and the current won't be too big a factor there.
All right, we're good.
All right. Thanks, guys. Great questions, and feel free to keep them rolling. So moving into kind of the equipment stage, kind of some of the mandatory equipment that would be bringing on the boats, the race committee boats. We've got the ollie, that's our automated starter, the race committee signal flags, the first aid kit and AED, that's a very important one. We've got the race committee bag, it's kind of a dry bag that has a binder and a few other forms and resources. And of course the racing marks. As we can see, this is our racing box area. It's kind of where we have the Snow Goose currently parked. Our like main gangway would be right here. This will usually be the staging area for race committee. A couple of quick visual aids here. Our ollie here, this orange box would be our starting box. We've got all our flags here, kind of two sets of flags, all the flags that go on the signal boat as well as those on the mark set. And just in case it's ever unclear which boxes have what, we have them clearly labeled here. The AED first aid box we can see from space. Racing, we've got all of the flags and the supplies and stuff like that. Marks obviously is where our inflatable marks go. So when we're setting up a race committee team, at a minimum, we like to use 2 vessels. The signal boat or the main race committee boat will usually be Sprite or another cruiser. And then the mark set boat is usually going to be one of our center console boats, often the Boston Whaler with the white engine. That's the Mary Anna, just because it is the most reliable and easiest to maneuver of our boats. If you have a big team out for race committee and you're able to get the third boat, get a third mark set boat out. Sorry, I guess that would be a third motor boat, second mark set. That's always helpful to help move things around. Of course, we want to have at least 2 people per mark set. So we have 1 person operating the boat, 1 person pulling marks. And then we have bare minimum of 3, but kind of more comfortable for 4 people on the race committee boat to actually run the races.
Elizabeth was wondering if we could agree on a time for everyone to be notified for a cancellation on race night.
Sorry, one more time?
Elizabeth was wondering if we could set a time for like a deadline for cancellation if we had to cancel for weather.
It's a great question. I don't really have a hard answer to that. It's not a bad idea to have that policy in place. Kind of as a soft policy, if we know we're going to cancel, we try to get word out by 4 p.m. That way, if anyone's kind of leaving work early to battle rush hour traffic, we can get the word out to them and especially avoid having people travel in traffic. So I'll say 4 p.m. as the cutoff for notifying, with the asterisk that if we have an official time that we decide on later, we might need to revise that. How's that sound?
Good, thank you.
All right, sorry. I'm not doing a great job of stopping at these slides, am I? I'll try to be a little bit calmer here. So in our preparation, when we're grabbing our supplies, race committee boat, the signal boat, we need to take obviously our signaling equipment. That's going to be the ollie, the race committee binder, the course board, and our flags as well. The race committee boat, if we just have the 2 vessels, we'll also take the leeward mark. That way race committee can set leeward while the mark set is setting the windward mark. Mark set, meanwhile, can take the AED and the first aid kit. Since race committee is generally going to be anchored, mark set will be moving around. If there is an emergency, we need to get to a boat to render assistance, mark set will be more able to do that. So that's why we like them to take the AED. In addition, mark set will take the windward mark and the starting pin. And if we get a third boat out, a second mark set, then the second mark set can kind of relieve some of the pressure on race committee by taking that leeward mark and the pin. That way you kind of have a windward mark set boat and a leeward mark set boat. Any questions on that?
No questions currently.
All right, moving on. All right, here's our comprehension check. Feel free to chat your answers in. And Hannah, feel free to call them out as we get them in. So we'll go one at a time. So what should you check before reporting for race committee duty at the DSC? Thank you. Got a lot of people seeing weather. Very good. Is it enough to just look at our little phone and see the Sunshine app on the screen?
Nope. Jordan Stock.
You want to make sure you're checking hourly forecast, radar, marine forecast, getting all the information. Great. Thank you, guys. All right. I see a comment here for the FSKN2 buoy. That's another good resource that I didn't necessarily include, but the weather buoys, FSKN, the Francis Scott Key buoy, and the Baltimore Harbor buoy, those are also great resources for checking the real conditions out in the harbor. It's a good comment there. All right, so what equipment do we need to bring out on the race committee mark set boats?
The AED.
AED, good one. Safety first.
Not Alex and John Domino both messaged that one. Oh, Elizabeth says the flags.
Flags, yep, very important. Our visual signals.
Yep, Jordan says you need marks, first aid kit as well.
All right.
We've got a radio. John says a radio.
Excellent. I don't know if that's one I included, VHF radio. Should always have a radio on you when you're out in the water. I've got ollie, I've got water. That's another good one, especially in those hot summer days. You want to bring some water bottles. All right, good stuff. Nicely done, everybody. All right, with that, go ahead and move on into the setting the course. So again, this isn't supposed to be like a comprehensive guide of how to set the mark, where to take it, how to trail it off, and all that. We've already got a lot of great resources on that, which I will share with you guys at the end. These are more just some kind of tips and tricks for fine-tuning our race course here. So here at the DSC, we like to do windward-leeward courses, usually 2 laps. That means the first leg, you're going to be beating straight into the wind. And the second leg, you'll be sailing straight downwind with the wind. So with that in mind, the windward mark should, of course, be directly upwind of the starting line. Not to get too rudimentary here, but kind of listed a few ways that we can use to tell the wind direction. I know we know all of these, but sometimes, especially if we're on a motorboat, not necessarily a sailboat, we kind of let our senses slip a little bit. But as a race committee, it's very important to be paying attention to where the wind's coming from so that we know how to set our square course. A square course gives, of course, the fairest competition for our racers. So you can use a wind indicator or a flag on the race committee boat. keeping in mind big asterisk on that, but that only tells you where the wind's coming from on the race committee boat and immediate location, not necessarily what's going on up the course. Keeping an eye on things like flags on the shore around the course, watching the wind on the water, trying to see which direction the waves are going, especially if there are other J22s that are already out there sailing. You can pay attention to their upwind angles, especially as they're tacking through the wind, kind of when their sails flat. You want to pay attention to kind of all of your senses, so use your eyes to see the wind, kind of listen for it. You can feel the wind on your face. Keeping in mind, of course, as you're motoring out, you can start looking for these visual signals, but you'll have apparent wind on the committee boat. So once you get to the racing area, that's when you want to kind of get approximately where your starting line is going to go. Kind of let the boat drift a little bit so you get a real sense of the wind. Big thing we obviously see a lot at the DSC, sailing in the ever shifty Inner Harbor, is that the wind often oscillates. So if we go out, look at the wind once, put the windward mark upwind of where the committee boat is. 5 minutes later, the wind could have shifted. Then we have a skewed course. I know that's something that I have trouble with. A lot of experienced race committees have trouble with dealing with really shifty conditions. Generally, you just want to start paying attention to when the wind shifts to the left, when it shifts to the right. Kind of get a feel for the farthest angles that the wind is shifting and try to set the windward mark right in the middle. As we all know, we're not always going to get this perfect. If the course is a little bit skewed, that's sometimes the nature of sailing in the harbor. But if we can, we do want to try to just average out those oscillations and get our mark right in the middle. So any questions on that?
We do not have any questions at this time.
All right.
Oh, wait. Is there a plan to have you or another staff member aboard as a PRO?
So this year, we will be having a staff member aboard. Hopefully it won't be me every week. We might have some folks kind of trying to help out this year. It is not necessarily my intention to be PRO this year, especially for the teams that have done race committee with me a couple times last year. I'm going to try to take more of a backseat, let you guys appoint a PRO and kind of make more of the calls. So I'm going to be trying to sit in more of an advisory role this year. Obviously lending help as needed.
And Dan asks, is the finish supposed to be upwind or downwind?
So great question. So for Thursday night racing, we do usually prefer a downwind finish. Kind of our go-to course in the DSC nomenclature is an L4, Lima 4. That's 4 legs with a finish to leeward. Some information about like the courses we use and more detailed information about the course, the race course areas is also available in the sailing instructions and the notice of race, which are posted on the DSC website.
Right. Thank you. Those are the questions we have for now.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Kind of getting a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of setting the course. So for Thursday night, we do short course racing here in the harbor. Our racers like to get a few races in per night, and we're usually limited on distance anyways in our sailing area. So we're usually shooting for an upwind leg of 5 to 7 minutes. That means it takes kind of about 5 minutes for the first boat to start rounding the windward leg. Keeping in mind that sometimes when we have depending on the wind direction, our sailing venue might be a little bit tighter. Sometimes it's a little bit shy of that, but anything shorter than that, it feels like we're kind of being a little bit helter-skelter here, not really getting a good fair upwind leg. Windward mark can sometimes be fairly close to shore. I know a lot of times we had people who are maybe a little bit skeptical of setting the mark as close to shore as it needed to be. We have plenty of water in our sailing areas. We're usually not going to run out of, run into shallow water, so we can set the mark fairly close to shore as long as it's not like right inside the wind shadow of the Care First building or something like that. Our leeward mark, generally we want it right about in the middle of the starting line and kind of several boat lengths to windward. A big concern for the leeward mark is we don't want it too close to the race committee boat. That way, if we have like a big pinwheel, a lot of boats rounding at once, we don't want it to kind of get into a bottleneck situation there. Especially if a team that kind of fouls their spinnaker, starts drifting around the mark, or starts sailing straight away from the mark, you want to give plenty of runway there. And then last consideration is we want our start line to be clear enough from the shore that we give boats a little bit of runway so that if they're sailing full speed through the line, they have room to kind of drop their kite, get their boats together without worrying about sailing full speed into any breakwaters. All right, how are we doing here?
We do not have any questions at this time.
All right. And again, we have some more detailed information on all of this in the race committee handbook and the DSC website. So of course, like I said, we want our windward mark kind of straight into the wind, get a nice fair upwind course. Then we want our starting line to be a nice perpendicular 90 degrees to the wind. Again, recognizing that that's not always possible with the oscillations we have. But generally want to get it kind of 90 degrees at least to where the windward mark is. Quickest and easiest way to do that is if you point your right hand, hold it outstretched from your body, fingertips pointing straight into the wind or straight towards the windward mark. You'll be facing 90 degrees past the committee boat. You'll be setting straight down that line. Important thing there is when you're setting the line, you want to keep in mind where your orange flag on the race committee boat is. That orange flag, of course, is going to be the starting mark, and that needs to be in line with the pin. So you kind of face 90 degrees, through that starting flag, get your pin set. Generally speaking, rule of thumb is you want a line to be about as many boat lengths long as boats you have in the fleet. So for J22s, 11 boat lengths is going to be about 242 feet, a little bit more, 240 to 250. That can be a difficult distance to judge on the water, of course. But a quick handy reference is as you're walking down to the docks, if you're standing right on the underneath the awning at the entrance to A dock, the end of the T-head is going to be about 11 J22 boat lengths from where you're standing. So as you're walking down on the dock, you can use that just to kind of get a baseline for distance. Obviously, it's not always going to be exactly 242 feet. A little bit shorter, a little bit longer is not necessarily a big deal. Keeping in mind that if the line is shorter, there's a higher risk of collisions. So definitely something to avoid, especially if there's heavier wind. And if the line is too long, then one side becomes much more favored during the wind shifts. So if you have a 15, 20 boat length line and the wind shifts to the left, that pin end is going to be really favored. Any questions here?
Dan asks, are the start and finish the same line, and can the signal boat stay on station?
Yes. So great question. The start and finish line are generally the same, and the signal boat does stay on station. In normal practice, usually the only time we're going to have a windward finish is if we ended up shorting the race, or if it's the last night of the race and the DSC is upwind of us, we might run an L3 or an L5. In which case we would post the finish line off of one of the mark-set boats.
Okay, thank you. Harish asks, for the leeward mark, how many boat lengths is several boat lengths?
So again, that's just a rough rule of thumb. I would say 3 to 4 for most conditions.
Thank you.
You don't want it too far from the line because then you're shortening that windward leg. But about 3 boat lengths usually gets plenty of runway there.
All right, thanks.
All right. Got our comprehension check here. So go ahead and chat in those answers. What are some good ways to tell where the wind is coming from?
All right, no one knows where the wind is coming from, or they're typing really long, involved, perfect answers.
Both are okay.
Matt Alish says, request a buddy to go head to wind.
That's a good one, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Got your sailboat pointing straight into the wind, sails flapping.
Elizabeth says, look at the flags.
That's great. Yep. Look at flags. Flag on the race committee boat is an easy reference, but just tells you where the wind is at the race committee boat. Looking at flags around the racing area gives you a fuller picture.
Dan Millar says you can tie cassette tape ribbon to the radio and check with that. Fran says you can face the wind with your face.
Yeah, very good. Facing the wind. Obviously, you feel the wind on your face. You hear it blowing past both your ears. That's great, using those other senses. I noticed in the chat, Jen mentioned checking the wind every couple minutes. I really like that. That's important since we all know that the wind can be shifty here at the DSC. Love it. All right, moving on. How long do we want the windward leg to be?
Do you want me to give it away for them?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if we have a lag on this.
5 to 7 minutes.
There we are. All right, 5 to 7 minutes. See, someone's reading about 1/4 to 1/3 of a mile. Obviously, the distance is hard to gauge in the water and can be different for different wind conditions. So good stuff there. And finally, how long do we want the starting line to be?
11 boat lengths or a dock, says Elizabeth.
11 boat lengths or 1 a dock. Excellent. Very nice. All right. Moving right along here. All right. So before the starting sequence, and this can happen, while you're motoring out to the race course. Ideally happens at the dock when you're having your race committee briefing. You want to kind of decide on your roles. These, of course, are going to be the roles on the signal boat. Roles on the mark set are pretty well defined between the mark setter and the powerboat operator, i.e. the driver. So on the race committee, if you're running a kind of 4-person crew, generally you'll have one person who's going to start the ollie and then be watching the timer. You're going to have one person to raise and lower the flags, the visual signals. You want one person to be sighting the line right at the start, and you'll have one person to be the scribe. That's going to be the person taking notes of, for instance, taking notes of boats that are OCS, recording the start time, recording times that boats are rounding the marks, taking notes on weather conditions, and so forth. Generally, you want to keep these roles throughout the night, so the person taking notes at the start is also going to be the person kind of recording finishes and stuff like that. No, I get sometimes it's nice to change up roles so that everyone gets kind of taste of something different, but sometimes it's nice to kind of keep in one role so you can practice that throughout the night, especially for the person taking notes. That way you don't have like 4 different sets of handwriting on your score sheet at the end of the night. Role here I don't have listed obviously is the PRO. Generally speaking, I think kind of having the person who's on the ollie and doing the time is kind of the best person to be the PRO, just because that person has the most opportunity to keep their head out of the boat to be paying attention to racing. If you have even more people, if you have a 5-person plus crew, then your PRO can be separate from these roles. But this is kind of just the bare minimum shakedown. So any questions on these?
We do not currently have any questions.
All right. I'm going to try to keep it moving here. I'm just a little bit behind my time, and I do want to get you guys out within the hour here. We use the audible signal system here at the DSC. That's the 3-minute start. I've got kind of a uncomfortable close-up view of the ollie. We see it's got its horn here on the outside. It's got 2 switches. The white switch is a single sound of the horn. Then the red switch, labeled off and on, starts the timer. So to start the timer in the ollie, you just switch the red switch to on, then it starts going automatically. We're not going to go in too much detail on the 3-minute sequence here, the kind of mechanics of it, because we've got a video of that, and we've got a couple of kind of visual rundowns of that as well. Again, I'll include those links at the end. In the interest of keeping things moving, I'm not going to go through the whole 3-minute start right now. One thing I do want to mention, though, is that you want to kind of sync your timer to the ollie. That way, whoever is on the time can be watching their stopwatch. It's so that they're calling out signals to everyone on the boats so that the people on race committee know where in the starting sequence you are. Any questions here?
We do not currently have any questions.
All right. So once you get down to the start, starting the line is going to be really important, because that's going to be the person calling any boats that are OCS or on the course side of the start. That's boats that are over early. So really within the last minute of the start is when you want to start keeping tracks of which boats are kind of getting close to the line. This is when boats are going to be kind of sailing to the line, making their final approach. Some people might be luffing at the line. So you can kind of start keeping track of who's where. That way, when things get crazy and everyone's coming right up to the start, you already have an idea of kind of which boats are where, so that if any boats are over, you're able to positively ID them quickly. Of course, any boats that are over early, put up the flag. On our, we'll go back to the ollie here. So remember, our white switch is one sound of the ollie. So if we have an individual recall, that's going to be our one horn. You just hit the white switch once. General recall is going to be 2 horns. You hit that white switch twice. Generally want to avoid a general recall if possible, just because it means you have to go through the whole starting sequence again. Adds delay to the racing. Oftentimes it can be frustrating to racers when they have to go through the whole thing again. But of course, if there are any boats over that you can't positively ID, if you're unsure of who was over, then that's when you will need to put up that general recall, call people back, and start it again. Any questions here?
Yes. So first, James says that it's about 20 seconds from the time you turn on the ollie until the first sound signal.
That's exactly right. Yep.
And Jen asks, do we have a list of which flags we use at the DSC or a video we could use to learn them?
We do have both of those. We have a list of the flags. I believe we have the flags listed in the kind of master race committee folder that Stu put together last year. If not, I'll take a look and maybe I can pull out just a kind of a standalone list that has the names of the flags and the corresponding visuals there. And we do have a video of that runs through the starting sequence with some commentary, and I do have the link for that at the end of the video.
Great, thank you.
All right, so we got our comprehension check for the start. So what are our basic rules on the RC boat, on the signal boat?
Gonna give them a moment.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit of a lag with the chat here. At least I do on my window.
Jordan Stock says, look down the line for OCS boats.
That's a big one. Yep, sighting the line, very important.
Aragola says, scribe.
Yep, scribe, taking notes. Have the person taking notes separate from the person paying attention. I mean, everyone's paying attention, but.
Jen Millar and friends say time, sightline, flag, scorekeeper.
Yep. All right. Sounds like we got it. Very nice. So how long is the starting sequence that we use for Thursday night racing?
3 minutes, Elizabeth says.
3 minutes. Bingo. 3 minutes. Yep. Dinghy start. Keep it quick. Fire them up. All right. And when should the race committee start paying attention to the start?
Gonna give everyone a moment.
Mm-hmm.
The line for OCS.
Yeah, so the line for OCS, obviously you want to be paying attention right at the start. This one's a bit of a trick question. You guys should always be paying attention, right? Yeah, so boom. As soon as the boats leave the dock and approach the starting area. Love it. Excellent answer, Jen. And of course, within 1 minute of the start is when you really want to start looking for those OCS boats and knowing who's where. All good. All right. So we've got our start. We got the boats all off started, sailing clean, clear the starting area. Now it's time to kick our feet up and just relax, right? Yeah, not necessarily. You want to be paying attention to the race during the race. for a few reasons. You want to kind of, for one thing, just keep an eye on how long the leg's taking. Maybe if it's a little bit short or a little bit long, you can adjust the length of that windward mark between races. You want to be kind of keeping an eye on, is the fleet clearly favoring one side of the course? If like immediately after the start, everyone's suddenly all on the right side of the course, might be an indication that your course is skewed a little bit. So before the next race, you might want to adjust it to the right. Or it might just be that everyone's favoring that side of the course for the current shift or breeze or something like that. Just generally keep an eye on if boats are having trouble. Maybe everyone's piling up in an obstruction. Maybe there's a dock that you didn't think would be a problem, but it's causing a lot of people to attack. Just kind of generally keep an eye on how the race is going and how boats are doing, any adjustments that you might need to make between races. And obviously you want to get your supplies organized, get the flags back together, and start getting ready for the finish as well as for the next starting sequence. Of course, if it's a Thursday night when we have the sonars out after the first start, then you'll do the sonar start, which gives you even more to pay attention to. Any questions here?
Not at this time.
All right. So leading up to the finish, obviously is where we take the scores. So that's important to a lot of people. Just like the start, you want to start keeping an eye on boats kind of before they get to the finish, just so you know who's where. Even if boats are maybe jockeying position a little bit, you kind of can get an eye for which boats are kind of going to be approximately what order they're going to be finishing in. If it's going to be a really close finish, don't be afraid to pull out your phone or iPad or whatever recording device you might have on you. Take a quick video of the finish. That way, if things happen fast, if it's too fast to ID at the time or to call out for the person jotting down notes, you'll have a video to kind of keep as a reference. And also to use as evidence if anybody thinks they didn't, if any of the racers at the end of the night think they didn't finish where they were, stuff like that. Of course, writing down the balance sail numbers as the boats finish, kind of write them down in the order they finish. We have our race committee score sheet form that we use at the DSC, which has space to record the boats in the order they finish, as well as kind of the boats in order of team name. So just kind of two ways to record it there. This is something that's important that most people do a good job of, but some people are get kind of like, let's keep races going. As soon as their boat's finished, they want to start the next race. This isn't Annapolis or Newport, we're still a community sailing center. We don't want to be too cutthroat here. We want to make sure after the race that everyone, even the last boat finishing, has time to get their kite down, catch their breath, get ready for the next race. That way everyone's kind of feeling level-headed and feeling on the same page going into the next race. Creates a fair playing field and kind of reduces risky behavior. Any questions on this?
Dan asks, what is the horn sequence coming from the ollie?
The horn sequence for the finish? Or was that back to the start?
For the start, he says the start.
For the start. So we do have, I have a video that lists out the horn sequence for the ollie. We have a visual guide as well, and it's also listed in the racing rules of sailing. Look at that, I just happen to have my racing rules on my desk here. So again, I'll include links to that at the end of the presentation, but we do have resources for that.
Thank you.
All right. There we are. Quick comprehension check on the finish. So what should our race committee boat be, what should our race committee be doing during the race?
Stuart says thank you.
Thanks, Stu.
Sarah Bova says paying attention.
Paying attention, that's great.
Dan Career says paying attention to all that's going on.
Very good, yep.
And Fran says prepping for the finish.
Prepping for the finish, good. What are some like specific things we can be paying attention to?
Harish says dreaming about Little Havana. That is a little more specific. and prepping for the next race.
Yeah, that's good. I see, making sure the course isn't too skewed. Very nice. How the boats are going around the course, looking for wind shifts. Excellent. Yeah, just keeping on things, making sure our course is still square and it's still a level playing field. Very nice. How long after the finish should race committee start the next race?
A few minutes.
A few minutes.
A few minutes. Or Elizabeth says after the last boat has finished and had a chance to catch their breath.
Very nice. I saw 10 seconds. That might be 10 seconds might be a little bit too fast. Maybe about a minute should be good for most conditions unless people are really struggling. All right. Very nice. All right. So end of the night, we've run 3 or 4 really good races. You know, head back to the DSC. We'll go a couple of quick housekeeping things. Again, a lot of this is detailed in the race committee binder and in a lot of the general DSC information, but I just want to hit a few highlights here. So of course, we want to put all the equipment back in the flags where we found them. The ollie, the flags, I mistakenly put first aid kit. I apologize for the typo. First aid kit and AED, of course, go in the AED box. Ollie, flags, RC binder, that kind of stuff goes in the racing dock box. Our racing marks should all be deflated and they go into the marks dock box. Of course, taking great care not to lose the plugs. Personally, I like to kind of deflate the marks, put them into the dock box with the plugs out, just so that they can continue to deflate. If there's any moisture that happen to get into the marks, it gives them a little chance to dry out. If you do leave those plugs out, maybe put them in like the bottom corner of the dock box just to make sure they're together and they don't get tangled up in the marks and stuff like that. Completed score sheets, obviously we'll need to get to me at the end of the night or somebody in the DSC office so that we can record them and post them online. It's easy when I'm on the race committee boat because I just take a picture with my phone and I've got them. For the nights when we have other volunteers acting for PRO and I'm not necessarily there, just use a phone to take a picture of each page. Generally, anything that you write on front and back of the score sheet, any protest forms, arbitration forms, anything like that, any paperwork that you accrue through the night, take a picture of everything, send it to me. That way I've just got it for my records. Then in the race committee binder, there's a folder section specifically for completed forms. So after you take a photo of everything, just stuff it down in the box. Now we've got a hard copy and an electronic copy, just so we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's here. I'm going to move on to the next slide real quick, then give a chance for questions because this one's really quick. This is just the powerboat procedures. When you dock in the powerboats, obviously turn off the engine. Don't want to walk with the boat running. You want to turn the wheel hard to port. That's all the way to the left. And that's your left side as you're facing forward, just to remove any disambiguity. So turn that wheel all the way to port. That's going to turn the engine all the way over. Tilt the engine up until it stops moving, and it goes from making like a burn to like a zzz. You don't want to like hold the tilt engine switch too long because you can burn out the motor. You want to put the powerboat key and the kill switch. Oh man, another typo. I really apologize about that. Moving right along, you put the key and the kill switch, and the, for instance, on the Sea Hunt, you can store them right in that console. Any of the boats, you can store them in the orange safety box. Likewise, that's where you're going to be looking for the powerboat equipment at the beginning of the night. Finally, turn the battery to off. That way, it's reduce the risk of the battery running, and of course, anyone who's maybe not supposed to be using the boats, that might prevent them from getting on there. Finally, make sure all hatches are closed, either like the console hatches on the Marianne or the Sea Hunt. Any aft hatches, make sure that's all closed so our boats aren't filling up with water. And again, we have more detailed powerboat procedures listed on our website and listed on the powerboats themselves. So any questions on both of those housekeeping slides?
Fran says, what is the warning time on Ollie? And are there Portsmouth races, or are they all 1, 2, 3?
So for Thursday night racing, at least in its current format, we are doing all one design races. That's all 1, 2, 3. So no handicaps, no Portsmouth. Don't have to deal with any recording finish times, anything like that. It's all one design. And as we all know, our downtown sailing boats are kept to the highest of one design standards. Yeah, just 1, 2, 3. It's all there is to it.
Did you answer the warning time on the ollie?
I apologize. I did not. Yeah, so the ollie, from when you turn on the switch, that gives you a 20-second countdown until the warning. Then the warning signal on the ollie is going to be 3 minutes.
Great, thank you.
All right. Of course, with housekeeping, I know, as Harish mentioned, maybe we're all dreaming about a little Havana. As soon as the races are done, we want to just pack up those boats and go. But really, part of the responsibility of being race committee is being the last man standing. Should be the last ones off the docks, to receive any protest forms that come in. And of course, we do hold arbitration here. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds of the protest process and arbitration because, as I said, we have plenty of resources in those already. But it is important that race committee is staying behind once they've got their stuff put away, at least to the end of that protest time limit to receive any protest forms, hold arbitration. Of course, after arbitration, you want to any protest forms. If anyone's taking a scoring penalty, anything like that, you want to send those relevant forms and to send them to me as well. And it is the race committee's responsibility to make sure the dock is closed and the gate is locked and all containers are closed and locked and put away nicely at the end of the night. Again, I'm not always going to be there, so I'm not. It is incumbent on the race committee to make sure that things are put away properly. Any questions on this stuff?
Fran says, do you do 3-minute arbitration?
Yes, so we do 3-minute arbitration. That is not 3-minute justice. So the arbitration is non-binding. If the protest is not resolved in arbitration and the appropriate parties don't withdraw their protest or accept the penalty, then it does go to a formal protest hearing, which we scheduled to be held, I believe it's 2 Wednesdays after that night of racing. So we do arbitration, but it is non-binding. It is for the benefit of the parties involved. It gives them a chance to resolve it without going to the full hearing.
Great, thank you. Those are all the questions at the moment.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. All right, quick sanity check on housekeeping. Which direction should you turn the wheel when you're stowing a powerboat engine?
Jeff and Elizabeth say to port.
To port, yes. Port. To the left, to the port. Love it.
Also a question before we move on. Matt Alish was wondering, are protests mandatory for contact?
Yes, great question. Here at the DSC, we do have, since the boats are all fleet owned, and there's a little bit of extra responsibility that goes in there. So if there's contact between DSC boats, there should be a protest. If there's no damage and the fouling boat does their 2 turns to exonerate themselves on the water, then it ends there and it doesn't necessarily need to go to arbitration or even to the protest hearing. But yes, if there is contact between DSC boats, someone should be hailing protest. Rubbing is not racing here at the DSC. Take care of my boats, please. I have enough work already.
We're done.
All right. And when should the race committee leave?
Jennifer Millar says, after everything is put away and arbitration has taken place.
Very nice. Yep. After everything's put away, after arbitration, if it's happening, if no one's filing arbitration, then after the docks have cleared out and everyone has left. Very nice. Man, you guys are paying attention. All right. Finally, at the end of the night, we get to the Havana part. It's of course not required that you go to the bar or wherever the post-race festivities are taking place. But it's a good way to get feedback. You know, if you're, especially if you're not sure how the night went, you can go chat with the racers, get some feedback. Of course, you can do this as people are de-rigging at the docks too. But it's just a great way, you know, make sure everyone's enjoying the races, make sure that they're all kind of fair and going according to plan. I know, for instance, a lot of feedback I got last year was people were telling me my starting lines are too long. So that's something you can take with you and apply the next time. Just a good kind of sanity check there. Of course, we try to keep our community strong at the DSC. That community extends to the racers, to the race committee, to the volunteers, members, everyone involved. We want to make sure that everyone is getting along and having fun if that's what they are here to do. Hopefully we don't have any questions on that. Happy to field any, of course. I'm going to go ahead and leave us with, as promised, a few resources. I will make this slideshow available to you guys, so don't worry about scribbling down these links. I'll send this to you with the links. These are stuff that you can look up on your own as well. Downtownsailing.org, that's of course our website. We have some information on our general racing page, as long as the Thursday night racing official notice board, that's the TNR specific page. We've got the race management and emergency action slides. Like I said, that's something that Stu and the race council put together last year. That is the comprehensive guide. You open that slideshow, slide by slide, step 1, step 2, step 3, that's literally everything you ever need to know about running race committee at the Thursday night racing program. If I sat here and read every single slide, we would be here till 8. So that's something I'll leave to you guys. If you're really interested in it, I definitely encourage it because there's a lot of great information there. We've got some specific kind of wind restrictions and guidelines in the sailing instructions, and we've also pulled it out as a standalone guideline. There's things, for instance, like what should race committee do if the wind shifts 50 degrees during the race, or if the wind's less than 3 knots, or if it's greater than 20. Just some kind of guidelines on like what to look for out on the race committee and how to you know, run the races accordingly. Of course, race committee should also be familiar with the sailing instructions and with the notice of race. That lays out, like I said, our courses, our racing areas, the starting sequence, the schedule. It's got a lot of great info. So when you're running races, you should know how to run races in accordance with the documents that we've set out. We've got our YouTube page up and running. For those of you who hadn't checked it out yet, I definitely encourage you to do so. As promised, I've got a video that runs down the starting sequence. That's runs through the whole ollie, including the visual signals, the flags. In case you're not already tired of hearing my voice, that's a resource out there. As mentioned, the Racing Rules of Sailing has some great info in here. That's got information on, like I said, that Appendix U, the starting sequence. And it's got the, look at that. For those who can still see my screen here, it's got the rundown of what signals happen when and what visual signals, if appropriate. This is available as a PDF from the formerly ISAF, the World Sailing website. If you have not signed up for a U.S. Sailing membership, this rulebook is included with your membership. If you're planning on signing up for a U.S. Sailing membership, you actually get a discount if you sign up through our MVP program. I've sent out the link, and the link's available here as well. You can Google U.S. Sailing MVP. Make sure you choose Downtown Sailing Center from the drop-down. That way we get some recommendation, and you guys get, I believe it's a 10% or $10 discount, something like that. And of course, ussailing.org has a lot of great information. If you go through competition and then you go to the RC 101 section, if you think our race management slideshow is comprehensive, just read through the U.S. Sailing stuff for a while. They really do have a lot of great information, but it can be a bit pedantic. So be prepared and take it with a grain of salt. And that is all I have for you guys. Unfortunately, we went a minute longer, but I will hang out here if anyone has any final questions or comments.
Thanks so much, John. The two comments we've got coming through here is Stu left a comment saying to check tomorrow morning your emails. He's sending out some information about some of his planning and so forth. Also, Matt Alish would like to invite everyone to a virtual sailing regatta inshore website and posted the code in the chat.
Oh, excellent.
And that's happening now.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Cool. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, if anyone wants to jump on that, it's virtual regatta, the inshore edition. I think we've got a link on our Facebook. If you have any questions about that, feel free to email me. But yeah, it's virtual regatta. You go to custom race, enter the code VDSC. That's Victor Delta Sierra Charlie. I think they're starting races at 7. You might be able to jump on now. They'll probably be running races about every 10 minutes or so. So great, yeah, go get some virtual sailing in. And thank you guys for attending. I'll hang out here for a few more minutes if we have any questions. Otherwise, really appreciate you guys all signing on tonight. Hope you're all staying well, and I can't wait to see you all in person.
Thanks so much for putting this together, John. This was excellent.
Thank you. And thanks, Hannah. Hey, Hannah, thank you for helping out. I would have driven myself crazy having to read the chat window and do this all. So thank you, Hannah.
No problem. So far, no questions.
All right. All right. Well, if that does it, if anyone has any questions or comments that didn't get answered, feel free to shoot me an email. I apologize I didn't leave my email link up here. It's posted all over the DSC website, and it is john@downtownsailing.org. Here, I'll post it in the chat. That's what I can do. That's john@downtownsailing.org. Email me with any questions about this, racing in general, DSC, questions about the virtual regatta, anything like that. I'll be on my email a little bit more tonight if there's any lingering thoughts. And of course, I'll be 9 to 5 checking the email all day. So that is available.
Great.
All right. Well, 7:05. When 5 minutes passed, hopefully you guys don't hold a grudge over that. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. One last thanks to everyone. See you soon.